big topic, and I really want to have a discussion with my friends here. Is like, why leave Hawaii? And we had a couple of questions here, and then from Jillian says, do you see people moving out of state to be with family somewhere else during this crisis, like other countries or states, thus selling their homes? That's kind of one question. The other one is from Linda, San Diego. She says, I know why people move to Hawaii, but why do they leave? I assume financial and family issues, but what else do sellers say motivated their decision to sell and leave the islands? So this is our topic, right? I mean, when I was researching starting up livinginhawaii.com, what really struck me was that there are 50,000 people move to Hawaii every year. 60,000 people leave Hawaii every year. So it's huge numbers, and there's a whole variety of reasons why people leave Hawaii. Clearly, financial is a big one, and family is huge. I think family is the longer term issue, because especially if the wife's family is on the mainland, that's a big draw. I kind of akin it to like the force of gravity, and unless typically speaking, moms want to be near their kids, and a lot of kids that are in Hawaii will leave. They'll go to college and they won't come back. My daughter's an example. She's living in Nevada right now, and she's probably not going to be coming back home. That's a big deal for us. So there's issues, and I think family is a big one. Family gets drawn to the mainland. If you're here without family, that's a big constant draw, and it wears away at you. I'd say that's a real big reason. The financial one is a pretty cut and dried one. You're not making enough money, you can't make ends meet, or there's better opportunities, you're going to pick up and go. That's the more resistant one. People, don't want to have to make that move if they can, but they sometimes will get forced into. I would say those are the key things. What have you guys? What are you folks kind of hearing when you talk to sellers? When you talk to sellers and the ones that are picking up and leaving, what are the reasons that they give you? So Dylan, let's start with you on this discussion.
I'd like to talk about two groups of people in this context. So the first one are, the local kids, right? The people that are born and raised here, and a lot of them leave mainly because it's hard to become a homeowner here. Even if you have a professional job, you're a mechanic, you're a nurse, you're a teacher, the income here is similar to the income in many places in the in the mainland, but the cost of living and the cost of housing is 30, 40%, 50% lower there. So you can achieve home ownership and you can live more comfortably on the same salary in the mainland as you could here. So a lot of people leave based on that, but those aren't necessarily homeowners, right? They're leaving because they want to become homeowners and they just can't do it here, or they can't do it comfortably. The other group, and we've talked about this before, and this is of course stereotypical, but I see this all the time, is you get the young retiree, right? That 55 to 65-year-old who has had a good career, maybe bought a home when they were young and has some good equity in it, can sell it, cash out of their home in the mainland and come here and retire in Hawaii. They spend 10 years here, and then, like you were saying, Peter, the kids have kids and they got grandkids in the mainland, and the kids aren't going to move here, right? I mean, they're not going to bring their families here. So the mom misses the kids, and so they end up, for two reasons. One, the family, they want to be closer to their kids and their grandkids, and the other one is healthcare, especially for the neighbor islands. Is if you as you get older and you need more specialized care, a lot of times you have to go to Oahu for that, or you have to be somewhere in the mainland. So people will then sell. So they come here, they stay for 10 or 15 years, and then when they're in their 70s and 80s, they end up going back to the mainland for family and health reasons.
That is I am so glad you pointed that detailed profile out. That's a great one, Dylan. Of course it's true. This idea of folks that have come out to Hawaii, they love the place, they did it, they've been here for 10, 15 years, but then they get drawn back. Not like you said, they got big equity, so like they're millionaires, they could sell that, they could sell the $1 million home in Hawaii, 1.5 million, and move into a house that's twice the size for like 1/3 the cost on the mainland. It's like, I'm done, right? And you got the family there.
I think we can all attest to this. We rarely, sell homes for people who are leaving because they don't like it. They're leaving. I mean, they're leaving kicking and screaming. A lot of times, one party, the husband or wife is kicking and screaming louder than the other one, because the other one, they're moving for one person's interest more than the other. So yeah, you don't have people that like decide it's terrible here and I'm going to move away. You know, it's a really bittersweet decision for them, and a lot of times it's a difficult thing to sell their home because there's a lot of emotional investment,
Sure.
and you know,
Yep.
they're not totally sold on it emotionally. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, again, typically typically it's the wife who wants to move back with the family. It's the wife who misses her children. It's the wife who wants to be with her grandchildren. You know, guys, you know, we're a bunch of knuckle dragging apes. So we, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, what, you know, some are tight, some are not. But you know, speaking for myself, okay, knuckle dragging ape. Scott, what's your response? I mean, what's your experience been with people who? Let's talk about people that are selling their homes. Let's talk about those experiences. People that are selling their homes and moving back to the mainland. What have you seen that we haven't already talked about?
Well, some of it's military.
A
They're
lot of
getting
military
transferred
on
every
Oahu. Yeah, good
three to
one.
5 years, especially here on Oahu. I think I saw somewhere today where there's been 4,000 VA loans done for purchases this year already. So we have a significant military movement. But yeah, I mean, even for me, my parents are in their 70s now. I lost my uncle, who's a huge mentor for me out here about a month and a half ago. He's the reason I'm in real estate. And my parents are starting to age as well. They're living in North Carolina. I can't go and visit them right now, you know, and I can't do a trip with them. And that flight every time I go back to the East Coast is a drag for me. So I've had that conscious thought in my head is, hey, you know, as they get older, what do I value? How much of their time is important to me, and things such as that. So that dialogue goes with every family member. The other portion is the opportunities. A lot of the parents who have kids at Punahou, Iolani, the private schools, they want their kids to go to the mainland and then stay on the mainland for a little while to have those job opportunities in those bigger marketplaces that are going to propel them and put them in a better place. And a lot of those kids that I've even spoken to, even recently, I had a conversation with a couple of them. They say, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to go work on the mainland. Then we want to come back eventually to slow down and have that easier pace of life. But, you know, part of what Dylan was saying is that 10, 15-year period that sometimes people live here for that's that chapter in their life. They had that dream of living here. Okay, let me go and spend that amount of time there, not really thinking about what's coming down the pipe with the family, or maybe they have. And then as it comes up, okay, we've had our time here. If that's that chapter, you close it out and then you go on to the next one. And there've been quite a few military people and other people that I've helped buy, and over a 5-year period, they sell the gain that they take. They're paying cash for a home that's bigger and way more affordable in another area. And now they're set financially moving forward in a much more comfortable place, having lived out here and experienced Hawaii and owned in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a great great kind of a layout that kind of really spells out a lot of stuff that a lot of cases. Heidi, what do you have to add to this conversation that we haven't already said? What are you seeing? You know, what sort of stories can you pull from your experience of people that are selling their homes and moving back to the mainland?
Well, I mean, some people have the perception that there might be a big migration out of Maui just because of job impacts, because of COVID, and high unemployment. But what I'm actually dealing with, and noticing is people that had long-term plans to sell anyway and move to the mainland now want to stay on Maui because of COVID, because they're listening to the news, they're hearing about spikes of COVID cases in other areas on the mainland, and they definitely don't want to leave now. I mean, they want to wait another 6 months, see how it goes. You know, so I think there's going to be, because of the pandemic, people coming and going. I mean, that's kind of always been the case. But one thing I'm personally noticing is there are a lot of out-of-state license plates on the road. That means people have shipped their cars over to Maui and moved here personally. Something I mentioned on a previous show is enrollment at private schools on Maui is at an all-time high. I mean, there's been a huge spike in enrollment at private schools. And this is families that have left California, Oregon, Washington, Texas, and moved over to Maui permanently. So, you know, I think there's going to be some people leaving, but there's also a lot of people coming here as well.
Thank you, Heidi, so much for that. That you really kind of fleshed out and gave a different angle on this whole thing, which is also true. It's like, yes, my wife says this a lot. She says, man, we take it for granted how like we live in this nice little isolated bubble. We live in this sort of COVID bubble that the cases aren't that big. With the crazy riots that were going on across the country, there was a time when it's like, right, so you're all nodding, right? It's like, yeah, there was a time when it's like, man, what the heck is going on here? Thank God we're here in Hawaii where everyone's got their heads kind of screwed on straight. It's really cool. And, I really, really, really appreciate your guys' input. It's just fabulous. And you know what? Anne agrees with me. Look what she just said. Thank you, Anne. Love the comment. Mahalo for your show. Each of you provide great, relevant info, and you have truly friendly demeanors. When I return, I'll certainly be using one of you to secure my home. Again, mahalo. Well, mahalo back to you, Anne. Yeah, thank you for expressing in your words what I'm also feeling. This is a great team of people. It's a great show. It's a great show.